Now let's go to question time. No love lost, Anthony Albanese, Scott Morrison, and they were at each other's throats again.
We often see at the end of a sitting period, Labor try to sum up what's happened. Here's your list of heinous sins. Here's how badly things are going. And particularly last week, it was pretty chaotic for the government, in a pretty dire shape. So Anthony Albanese summed up things from his point of view, and Scott Morrison tried to flip things and sort of say, well, here's what Australians really care about, i.e. not what's happening in the parliament.
This fortnight, government members and senators have crossed the floor on multiple issues. The chair of the Privileges Committee resigned over a report on the member for Pearce, who also resigned. And the Prime Minister was forced to abandon his voter suppression bill. Hasn't the Morrison-Joyce government lost the ability to govern?
Over the course of this year, and even just this week, as we reach 20 million Australians having had their first vaccination, one of the highest vaccination rates in the world, one of the strongest economies coming through the pandemic, 350,000 people coming back into jobs, Mr Speaker, one of the lowest fatality rates from COVID in the world, having saved 30,000 lives, 217,000 apprentices in trade training, Mr Speaker, 1 million Australians working in manufacturing, Mr Speaker, schools getting back and open again, Australia opening safely so it can remain safely open. No, Mr Speaker, no is the short answer to that question, Mr Speaker. The coalition government continues to focus on the issues that the Australian people have foremost in the front of their mind, Mr Speaker.
Now, Scott Morrison said, you want to have a go at me for going on holiday to Hawaii, for going to church on Sunday. Finally came up with a couple of zinger lines on some of these lines of attack, didn't he?
He did, and perhaps it's taken a little while for this. So, you know, Labor again was trying to go on the attack, talking about his personal sins. So they started off on his lack of control and then went to the errors he's made, and Scott Morrison came back at Labor. Here was that exchange.
Can he confirm that this fortnight the Prime Minister has denied saying electric vehicles would end the weekend, denied paying parents to vaccinate their children, wrongly claimed he texted he was going on holiday to Hawaii, and blamed Labor for his failure to introduce an anti-corruption bill? Why does the Prime Minister have such difficulty with the truth?
Their big problem with me as Prime Minister, Mr Speaker, is apparently I go home for Father's Day, I have a holiday with my family, Mr Speaker, and I go to church on a Sunday. Get over it. A lot of Australians do.
Doesn't sound like a bad response, but here's my but to that. First of all, it wasn't going on holiday, it was the obfuscation around it, and to a degree the location. The bushfires are happening, maybe your holiday at home. I'm probably a bit more of a pass mark generally for pollies going on holidays, and PMs don't get a lot of time.
Oh,
but it was not getting a straight answer out of his office or Michael McCormack's. And then when you go to...
Cover up, not the crime.
Well, exactly. Then you go to the other issue. I had personally no issue with him going back for Father's Day, given how little he'd seen his family. But again, it was just not being forthright was the issue. So it sounds like a decent response, but we're going to get sort of, you know, behind one layer and say, sure, well, if you've got no problem, tell us you're doing that. Why obfuscate? If that's it, there's no issue and every Australian does it, well, just tell us what you're doing.